Bună dimineața și bun găsit la BU. Sunt Sabina Iosub și vă invit să rămâneți alături de mine în următoarea jumătate de oră, căci o să discutăm despre chestiuni legate de mediu. Alături de mine la această oră este Virginijus Sinkevičius. He's the Commissioner for Environment. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We know that a lot of work is done now regarding the environment in general, but we will focus on small but big things. Let's start with pesticides, because I know that you want actually to change all the legislation regarding the use of pesticides. Explain us what's the idea.
So, first of all, I think what's very important to achieve is to minimize the risk of pesticides use as regards the human health and the environment health. But also, on the other hand, the challenge is large because we also want to continue our farmers to have good crop yields, sustainable pest control, and of course ensuring that the pesticides used effectively and used as the last resource. And as it's very important under the Green Deal, and more importantly under biodiversity strategy, we have a very clear goal to decrease the pesticide use by 2030 by 50% in the EU. That is an ambitious goal which can only be achieved, of course, together with our farmers. That they use the newest technologies and techniques, for example, like precision farming, effective pest control, and then of course we may make sure that the pesticides use is decreasing steadily, and most importantly is not harming our environment. It will come in March, a new proposal together with nature restoration proposal. We will propose the sustainable use of pesticides directive, where we are going to exactly match our goals. What's very important that on this way we're doing a very extensive stakeholder consultation, and also I'm also very thankful to the French presidency for taking this matter as a priority and collecting the information from the member states with the best available practices that were already implemented in certain member states, which allowed a decrease of pesticides use.
Is there a resistance from the agriculture sector? Because I think it's normal to have some, because in general, reducing the use of pesticides might mean increasing the costs or increasing the loss. So,
of course, there are questions from the community which I think is very important to answer. But as I said, we are trying to really involve the stakeholders around the table. What's very important, of course, is the CAP strategic plans, where member states can clearly show a support not only for a cause but support for farmers. So this is our expectations. The second thing, of course, our farmers, they also compete in a global market. So it is very important that our ambition would be also global, and our partners would do similar measures. So I think this is the main challenges that the farmers community are looking, but also we should not forget about the gains. One is, of course, having a healthier product for our consumer, healthier food. But secondly, also, use of pesticides, it costs money. So, of course, with effective use, farmers can even save.
Let's go further to another subject that was debated here at the European level, in the European Parliament, and it started the implementation of it. I'm referring to the use of plastic. We know that it was a list of first 12, I guess, plastics that are not going to be used at the European level, and it is important to understand what's the goal in order to reduce the use of plastic. Let's start from here.
So, first of all, why plastic is being so much debated here at the European Parliament, even at the global level, because plastic pollution is a big issue. You know, almost 26 million tons of plastic waste is generated in Europe every year, and around 80% of marine litter is plastic. of course, don't get me wrong. We are not against plastics, but against unsustainable use of plastics. And of course, we need to look for a solution, as this problem is very much in the public eye. Also, 87% of Europeans are worried about the impact of plastics. So our action is aimed at tackling plastic pollution at several levels. First of all, microplastics. So we finally, this year, are going to have a proposal on banning microplastics from certain products that are not essential, that microplastics is used, and then on other products that are also categorized, we are going to be investing in research and innovation to replace, if possible, microplastics use. What's very important, of course, is that at the moment, we are in negotiations in reaching global agreement against the plastic use, and I think this would be a tremendous step, really unifying. And here, I think we can succeed because many countries outside Europe also support these proposals. And last but not least, of course, our Commission is working to address, as I mentioned, presence of microplastics, but also to innovate. And here is an important part: bio-based, compostable and biodegradable plastics, which again, we want to develop a policy framework for such innovation this year in 2022.
You've said that 85% of the Europeans are concerned by the use of plastic. Are just concerned, or they are really doing something? What's the feeling at the Commission level?
I think, you know, what was very important from society is support to Commission action, and we know that our first initiative as regards plastic ban of single-use products, where we have a list of 10 products that are not allowed to be sold on the EU market, received a tremendous support across member states from citizens, and actually pushing Commission to implement it even sooner. So I think it really shows that people are behind it. Of course, we have issues in certain member states as regard waste, but I think if the waste management problems are dealt well within the municipalities, within the governments, citizens are quickly to adjust and start recycling, separating their waste.
If you mentioned waste, let's go to this area also, because we've seen in some member states, and I have to underline here that Romania is also on the list, but we'll discuss separately about Romania. We've seen that the waste is still a problem. Also, that the people are very interested about separating waste, about recycling stuff, but in some areas they simply cannot do it because there is no legislation, or there isn't a good mechanism. What's in the plan of the Commission for this year?
So one of the major things, and Romania here actually serves as an example, not a good one, but as an example, where the first priority aim should be closing the substandard landfills, and that's number one. Secondly, of course, the capacity building, and here I think what's very important that member states, including Romania, could very wisely use their RRF support to build waste management capacities around the country, where they could successfully collect separated waste and then deal with it. I think that should be the aim number one, which Commission is really encouraging member states to seek. One of the things which member states have to keep in mind, if we really want to implement the circular economy, which again has a big support from citizens across the board, we need to deal with our waste here within the European Union. And one of the Commission decisions which we adopted recently is actually banning exports of waste. so that we deal with our waste at the source. That's, of course, possesses certain challenges to some member states, but on the other hand, it is enhancing innovation, it is pushing member states to take decisions. Of course, we cannot rely only on recycling. There is no way that we will recycle our way out of the issue. The first thing which we should do, and member states have to invest much more into actually waste prevention at the first place.
Let's discuss also about the pollution, the air pollution. We've seen some measures taken at the European level. We know the goal here. We know how the European Union wants to reduce the emissions, but it's a complicated way to reach this goal, because you cannot put barriers in the air. And here it's not only about the European Union, but actually the whole world.
So, correct, but I think first of all we need to do our homework before really going out and teaching others. And you know, the price that we pay every year, that we lose around 400,000 citizens due to premature deaths caused by the air pollution, I think it's unthinkable. It happens here in the European Union, so it's a big toll that we're paying for air pollution. And of course, many member states have exceedances. So Romania is one of those cases, and we saw the last exceedances of particulate matter, which is a big issue around the EU. So I think there is two things. First of all, it is a very important step, a cooperation between the national government and municipalities, because usually we have air pollution exceedances in the cities, in the larger cities. So clearly measures has to be taken by the municipal government, but also in coordination with member states. We have some great solutions and great examples across Europe from member states who are our green capitals. And among those green capitals, we not only have like small cities, we have very large cities like Grenoble, which is the capital of green capital of Europe this year, or the year before we had Lisbon as a green capital. And they managed to implement many solutions which would allow, of course, drastically decrease the air pollution. And one of them is of course, car-free zones. Second one is, of course, public transportation, which has to be accessible, which has to be comfortable, but also clean. I think it is very important to remember, and this is what we're trying to push member states to emphasize on, and again, invest the RRF funding.
Let's see what are actually the next steps for oceans and seas on your agenda, because we know, okay, Romania maybe is not so interested in all the actions. We only have Black Sea, but an important one. I know that you have a good strategy at the Commission level about this.
So I think very important, of course, for us is going to be developments in international scene. And here, very soon, President Macron is organizing one ocean summit in Brest, where we're going to be emphasizing a lot on the European agenda of reaffirming our presence in international oceans governance. One of the things which we will be looking at is, of course, pushing for that global agreement on plastics. The second thing is, of course, the so-called BBNJ agreement on the protection of the high seas, because at the moment, member states, countries, they have very clear rules of what happens in their economic zones, but what happens beyond those economic zones in waters further away, there is no basically rule. So it is very important to reach an agreement. We're going to have an ocean conference in Palau, where United States, together with Palau, taking the leading role. So it again gives a good perspective to have an ambitious commitments and agreements. And last but not least, two things is, of course, the UN conference on oceans in Lisbon, where I think UN is looking for very ambitious pledges before the COP15, because oceans, they play a crucial part in the fight against climate change. And last thing is, of course, Antarctica MPA. We have a chance to establish the largest protected area in the world. EU is initiating it, and I hope that we will be able to find a common agreement with our partners, in particular China and Russia, on this issue.
We will see exactly what are the debates over there. In the last part of our talk show, let's discuss a little bit about Romania also. We all know that you at the Commission level are watching closely each member state, not only Romania, on different aspects. But when discussing about my country, let's see what is the situation now. We have some problems with pollution, with bears, with forests. The list is long, but let's try to see what are the news over there.
First of all, I think it's very important to mention probably that January 2022 marks 15 years of Romania being member of the EU. And I think looking back at the only amount of investments, over 60 billion were invested from EU funds to Romania. And I really hope that it really brought the positive change, which is not only seen on statistics, which is obvious, but also felt by people who, of course, deal with everyday challenges. But of course, there are still challenges that remain, that requires not only EU attention, but requires a stepped up attention of especially implementation of EU acquis by the Romanian government. And you mentioned the issues very well. We are concerned about the air pollution. And the worst, which when we were discussing, I told you about the being exceedances in the cities. In Romania, we see that exceedances are not only around and in Bucharest, but in other agglomerates as well. And that is a worrying trend. And second thing, of course, I think it should be done and invested more into correct and fair assessment of air pollution. So Commission is watching it very closely. The second thing where I think the progress was done, but I think way more support needs to be attributed to Minister of Environment as regards the forest and forest management, because this is not only important situation due to precious and really beautiful environment that Romania has, but also because it costs people lives. And that's, of course, something that we cannot ignore. There has to be a stepped-up implementation, and Commission was very concrete as regards the actions that Romania has to take, but that only can happen if there is a political willingness. So we see some positive steps, but it's still a long way to go.
Are you aware about the recent violences in the forests in Romania? It happened 2 months ago or so. With those who are protecting the forests, and I know that something went to you in order to inform you about the situation.
So of course we receive reports very quickly, and Commission is monitoring situation, and I had a discussion with Minister actually just recently, and at that time when events occurred. And I think this is a very important part to realize that the issues of dealing with illegal logging in Romania, it has to do not only with the Ministry of Environment and Forest Rangers. You cannot ban what's already illegal. What's very important is stepping up the implementation. But that implementation can be stepped up only if all levels of enforcement is aligned. I'm talking about the police, I'm talking about the judicial services, prosecutors and so on, who would be supporting Minister, but also I hope the whole government in this fight.
What about the bears? Do you know the situation of the bears in Romania? We've discussed last time when we've seen each other about King Arthur with
yes.
we know it was a huge debate over there, if it was the biggest bear of the all bears in the European Union or not.
I think it's not again about the size. I think Romania is very rich with its environment and has the biggest population of bears in the EU. What's most importantly, I think that legal aspects and legality of any activities, hunting, fishing, whichever done, especially by foreigners coming as a guest to Romania, would be respected. So I think that was the most important, the core of what really happened. One, that of course the symbol of the national park was killed, but secondly is the questions about the legality and if the Romanian laws were fully respected.
Is everything clear at the European level in terms of Romania on this subject?
So
you still waiting?
We're watching the ongoing procedures, yes, and of course it will, as I understand, will be in national courts, and then the EU does not really intervene when the one or the other issue is in front of the national courts, because then it becomes the national court's decision.
Commissioner, what's your message in the end of our talk show for the Romanians, officials or citizens, as you prefer?
So I hope that those first 15 years were, let's say, the hard way to learn how to do certain things, but now the improvement and steady steps ahead will be visible much quicker, and the results will be the ones that, I don't know, the ones that the Romanian people really imagined 2006, that night when you were joining the European Union, and that vision will become a reality on the ground in Romania.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
În final, vă spun să rămâneți pe Antena 3. Nu uitați că ne revedem și sâmbătă viitoare la 9:30 de minute. Cu bine și sănătoși să fim!